When you solo, do you have issues with tempo? Then you need the solo buddy. Do you have trouble coming up with new ideas, new patterns, new movements when you're solo? Then you need the solo buddy. Would you like to be practicing more solos that weren't just in 4? Then you need the solo buddy. You want to know what the solo buddy is? Of course you do. Keep watching and you'll find out. It's me. Are you shocked? I know I'm shocked, but really, who else was it going to be? I'm your solo buddy. I've come up with 2 observations after watching a countless number of Taiko solos. Number 1, the longer you play with a Taiko group, the more your solos are going to sound like the other members' solos in that same group. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. This is just a process of assimilation, and it happens to everyone. And number 2 is that for a lot of Taiko players, there's a point, sometimes it happens multiple times in your Taiko career, where you're not able to come up with new patterns and new movements. Your library gets full. For some players, when this happens, it's okay, they feel comfortable. But many Taiko players feel stuck. I've heard that term quite often. And so was born the Solo Buddy. I actually came up with this idea a little less than a year ago, but I'm just now getting around to doing it. I want to address both of those observations / issues through the medium that I have here. I will pick a G, a tempo, a meter, and a length of solo, generally on the shorter side. I will start by playing the G so that you and I are on the same page, and ideally you're playing along at the same time. Then I'll start the solo for that length of solo that I mentioned earlier. Then I'll play the G, then solo, and then G, back and forth, back and forth. When I'm soloing, you're playing the G. And when you're soloing, I'm playing the G. So here we are, back and forth. You're soloing with your buddy. There are 3 ways which I think are the best methods to utilize the solo buddy. The first method is call and repeat. Whatever I play in my solo, you repeat as best as you can. Here's an example of what that might look like. H, B, sol, re. If you noticed, the repeat was not 100% accurate compared to the call, and I did that on purpose so I could talk about it. The goal is to play patterns and do movements that I'm doing that you probably don't normally do. I don't play like you do, and you don't play like I do. The goal is not to get 100% accuracy. It's nice when you can do it, but consider that more of a bonus. The second way is inspiration. This is very different from call and repeat because the idea is not to duplicate, not to mimic, but to be influenced by whatever it is that I'm playing. So if I play a funky pattern, you play a funky pattern. If I play a lot of notes, you play a lot of notes. It's as simple as that. Let me do 2 examples to show what I was just talking about. H, B, sol, re. H, B, sol, re. Pretty simple, right? There is another way you can use the inspiration method, which is a lot of fun, but it takes a little bit more processing. Let's say I play that funky pattern. Maybe your response is to play something very straight. Or I play the pattern with lots of notes, and your response is to play a pattern with very few notes. This is a more playful version, but you're still being inspired and influenced by what I play, so the theme of this method is intact. The third and final method I call capture. Let's say somewhere in my solo I have this really cool rhythm and you like it. You capture it. You put it maybe in the beginning of your solo, maybe at the end of your solo. Maybe you do it more than once. Maybe you take a part of it and sprinkle it throughout your solo and make it more of a theme. But it's very clear that you've captured something from my solo to put it into yours. You can also do this with movement. Let's say I open up my solo with some really big fancy arm movement and you take that for yourself. You can put it in the beginning just like I did. You can put it at the end. You can put it in throughout, take parts just like what you did with rhythm. You can also do with movement. Here's a couple of examples as to what it might look like. H, D, so, hey. H, D, so, hey. The goal behind capturing is pretty simple. Take something that you identify in my solo and use it in yours however you see fit. To end this section, I'm going to do 2 short solo buddy chunks, for lack of a better word. The first one is going to be dongo on naname at 100 beats per minute, 8 counts per measure. I'll start by playing the G and then I'll start the solo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then your solo. That's how long the solo chunk will be. The second chunk will be dorotsuku on a single drum at 140 beats per minute in a meter of 3, and I'll be doing 2 counts of 3 per solo. Dorotsuku, 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 and then it's your turn. I highly recommend that you at least try the solo buddy out as it's intended, which means playing back and forth with me, your solo buddy. You can just watch me do this. I don't know, maybe it's entertaining. Play along. Play on your body. If you have bocce, play with those. Get a sense for how this feels. Get a sense for how much fun it can be. Oh, and before you start, pick one of those 3 methods. Call and repeat, inspiration, or capture. It's really good to have one of those in mind and not switch around too much. Just pick one, go with it, follow along with your solo buddy. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One, two, three, 2, 2, 3. When you start to think about all of the possibilities and options that you can have in a solo buddy, it gets kind of overwhelming. For example, you can start with any G, dongo, dondoko, donsutsu, dorotsuku, triplet, straight beat even. You can choose a tempo, something slow, medium, fast, or very fast. You can have any arrangement you want. One drum, more than one drum, naname. I would even do katsugi okero for a solo buddy. You can pick any meter you want, something between 2 and 8, maybe 9, maybe 10, maybe 11. The focus can be on rhythms, or on movement, or a hybrid of both. The difficulty can be something easy, moderate, or difficult. The solo lengths can be short, medium, or long. And the length of the video can be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes long. What's more, you don't only have to pick one thing. Let's say you start with easy solos and gradually work up to difficult solos. Let's say you start with a focus on rhythms and then end with a focus on movement. It doesn't have to be just one thing. An extra feature of this is that you can pick any one of the 3 methods and do the solo buddy on just that method, and then do it again, and then do it again. It gives you 3 times the potential of any one of the combinations, which is already a lot of potential. And finally, maybe an extra, you can mismatch. What you're doing can be different from what I'm doing. So let's say I have katsugi okero. You have naname. I have 2 different tones and I can do movements that you can't. How do you then use the repeat method to match what I'm playing? You can't, so you have to be creative. You have to come up with something that captures the spirit and the idea. And this, in my opinion, is a whole lot of fun. And finally, dear viewers, this is where you come in. I am happy and eager to do a lot of solo buddy videos, not just for you, but for the Taiko community. I'm thinking long term. Let's say 10 years from now, there's a new Taiko player who wants to practice but doesn't have the opportunity, doesn't have people to practice with. These videos will be available and they're free. But to make solo buddy videos, I need to know that there's interest from you. There's lots of ways to reach me. If you don't want it to be public, that's fine. And simply say, I'm interested, and tell me whether you want something generic, dongo that's fast, fine. Or you could be very specific, a dongo at 140 beats per minute, focusing on rhythm that has short solos and ends with long solos. Whatever you want, just let me know. It's not like it costs you anything, and the more that I know people want and the more people that I know want this, the more likely it is for these videos to happen. So what do you say? Let's make it happen. If you like this video, let me know. A thumbs up is greatly appreciated. If you haven't subscribed yet, the button is just over there. And I think every time you click it, an angel gets a pair of bachi, or is it a devil gets a drum, or a spirit gets a pair of chapa? Something along those lines. Go ahead and hit that button regardless. And until next time, keep on soloing and be well.